Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Tsunami spinning on the ones and twos. Fam? Where's Pedro? I know he's here somewhere.
He's right there.
He's hanging on out. A lot of people have been wondering about this, fam. what's going on with the Assange thing. We didn't speak about it the other day, but we get to catch up today on it. I think it's a lot of information we already knew.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So maybe we can straighten everything out because everybody were like, revelations.
Yeah.
And the spin from the synthetic left was kind of weird too as well. Because they were trying to make it about, see, Donald Trump, he's awful. But I mean, is Biden gonna, let go, drop the charges on Julian Assange?
No, it doesn't seem like it.
The Democratic Party, are they going to? All right, so.
No, it doesn't seem like it at all. I just want to wait a little bit until some people come on in because we literally just started. But I wanted to,
let me get over and say hi to some people.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah, because I just wanted to. It's going to be a longer section, this one, but the article that was released by Yahoo News, they basically got, 30 plus officials talking to them about really what went on. And like he said, this is what we already knew, what a lot of, especially activists and other journalists were saying, that, the CIA has always done this. I mean, we know that the CIA does what they want. They have the full approval of the national security state apparatus. They find and manipulate ways to be able to do what they want. And I'm going to go into depth explaining how this whole thing came about. And I think it's important that we go over it, even though it's a lot of what we already knew, because there were some details that were released that we didn't know. Just how far, Pompeo was part of the deep state. A lot of people tried to make him out to be some sort of outsider just because he was part of the Trump administration, when in reality he was always part of the quote unquote deep state, and he always had a hand in wanting to get rid of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks and journalists who they saw as a threat, including Glenn Greenwald. And the reason a lot of people thought that Pompeo was pro Assange was because he was happy with the drops via WikiLeaks regarding Hillary Clinton. But once it was about them, that's when he changed his tune. And that just goes to show you that a lot of these politicians still play team sports, even if they do good things every now and then, and that you can't really trust them. No. So
I think at the end of the day, no matter what, Pompeo was always going to have his eye on Julian Assange because of the collateral murder release, exposing the military and what they do overseas. And that's just when that's one small micro picture of what happens all the time out there, right? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Imagine what happens every day. We've said this before, we experienced 9/11, but can you imagine the people in that region? They go through 9/11s every single day. You want me to say hi to a couple people as they start trickling in, or you want to jump on into it? All right, Christine Nye is here. Thank you so much, Christine Nye. Hey, Fred Edward, would you check your email? I've been emailing you. You haven't hit me back. Facts on the ground, fam.
What's up, fam?
Miss D. Jesse, what's going on? And over on the YouTubes, we got it's starting to climb. Monarch, what are you doing? Super Patriot D. Martin, War Deer Entertainment, how you doing?
Hey,
Uncle Warren,
Uncle
where you
Warren.
at? Janto Emily transition vlog, and Kristen Parrish. Also Frederick Murphy and Lucky Burrito are hanging out over there too.
Okay, so let's get started.
Let's do it.
So this intel was confirmed. As we suspected, the CIA planned to assassinate Julian Assange. And this is obviously on WikiLeaks. And I'm just going to read the first part because we're going to go into the article in a second. So new senior officials inside the CIA and Trump administration discussed killing Assange, going so far to request sketches or options for how to assassinate him. Discussions over kidnapping or killing Assange occurred at the highest levels of the Trump administration. And of course prior. So I have some graphics to show as we go along with the article, just to make it simple for all of you out there. It's a long article, but it's well worth the read. So what we knew about the CIA's involvement, right? That involvement was long suspected by those in the Assange community, including our friends in Action for Assange, many activists and journalists. The Justice Department can pretty much justify any crime, including torture crimes, if the CIA asks them to. This is, of course, after we found out about torture and what the United States did regarding torture, and how they have pretty much given the CIA full range to do what they want. And you can go on the next one. So, Mike Pompeo was the EIA director at the time, right? And he floated this idea to the highest levels of government. He wanted to pretty much neutralize journalists like Glenn Greenwald and documentary filmmakers, as well as any other people who were a threat. He wanted to classify them as something else to pretty much diminish the fact that they were journalists. He talked about several options. One of the options was a shooting outside of the Ecuadorian embassy and possibly also shooting the tires of a Russian diplomatic plane to disable the plane and then snatch Julian Assange. We're going to go more into depth about this, but I just wanted to highlight a couple things. Just so you know, this would be an act of war as the Five Eyes countries, and the Five Eyes are a coalition of 5 countries, Australia, US, New Zealand, Canada, and the UK, who are in agreement of cooperation and don't spy on each other. And of course, the UK would be doing the shooting, so this would be largely unlawful.
Something kind of coincidental about those 5 countries, they all speak English.
Yeah, they're all pretty much, the West, NATO. So here's the article, and we're gonna go into the bits and pieces on it. It's the war on WikiLeaks, and it talks about the assassination attempts and a London shootout. So this is inside the CIA secret war plans against WikiLeaks. So I'm going to go over the first part really quickly. In 2017, if you guys remember, Julian Assange began his 5th year in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Meanwhile, the CIA was actually plotting to kill him and possibly kidnap him. And a lot of the Trump administration officials were arguing over the legality of this, as well as the practicality of some of the operations. Just so you know, some of them were against it as well. So some senior officials inside the CIA and the Trump administration even discussed killing Assange, going so far as to request sketches or options for how to assassinate him. Discussions over kidnapping or killing Assange occurred at the highest levels, and this was said by a former senior counterintelligence official. There seemed to be no boundaries. This, of course, was the CIA campaign director towards WikiLeaks as a whole. They had spying on WikiLeaks. They tried to sow discord among the group members and steal their electronic devices. By the way, just so you know, the FBI tends to go and infiltrate groups, sow discord, and then leaves and moves on to something else. The CIA attempts to approach groups through a more friendlier, honey to the bees entrapment kind of version. Those are the 2 different versions of how the CIA and the FBI tend to function. But anytime there's something like, people start fighting and arguing inside an organization, it's likely because there's a Fed. So Assange obviously had been on the radar of the U.S. intelligence for years. The WikiLeaks, the ongoing publication of this Vault 7 is the main thing that actually sparked this whole thing. It was the largest complete just exposure of the CIA known to in history, right? The CIA was extremely exposed, and Mike Pompeo and others really, really did not like that. He sought revenge on WikiLeaks and Assange. And during this time, we know that he had been seeking refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy since 2012 to avoid extradition in Sweden for supposed rape allegations that were later dropped, and the ones that he denied and that people are still using to this day to smear him. So, according to one of these people exposing the information, Pompeo and other top agency leaders were completely detached from reality because they were so embarrassed by Vault 7. And this is from, again, a Trump national security official. So 30 former U.S. officials, right, 8 of whom described the details of the CIA's proposal to abduct Julian Assange, revealed for the first time some of the most contentious debates within the intelligence community during the Trump presidency, and exposed new details about the U.S. government's war on WikiLeaks. This campaign was spearheaded, and this is from the article, by Pompeo that bet important legal strictures potentially jeopardized the Justice Department's work towards prosecuting Assange and risked damaging episode in the United Kingdom, the United States' closest ally. So again, some people within the Justice Department felt that the way Pompeo was going after Julian Assange would eventually jeopardize their attempt to actually get him. So they wanted to be extremely careful as to how they went. And some of them really didn't like Pompeo. They thought he was a fundamentalist, a Christian fundamentalist. He would attend Bible studies multiple times a week. He was kind of like not really liked by a lot of the intelligence community. So
the Justice Department had been working for years, though, to try to get Julian Assange.
Yeah, we'll get to that
before
part.
the Trump.
Yeah. We'll get to that part.
I don't want to jump.
I know, but the CIA actually, when they were reached out by Yahoo, they declined to comment on this article, as well as Pompeo. He also declined to comment. So, this next slide that I wanted to point out is, how could this happen? Like, how could this ever be approved then if this is something that is illegal? And that's just the next picture. So this is how it works, right? So the CIA goes to the Office of Legal Counsel, and this office is known as the OLC within the Department of Justice, the DOJ, who has to determine if the act is legal or not. This act was, of course, illegal. Yes, exactly. But what the OLC does within the Department of Justice is they try to interpret the law in a way that will allow the CIA to do what it wants. So they basically changed a couple things, and we're going to talk about what that is. And once approved there, it goes to the director of the National Security Council. And then once approved there, it goes to the president for signing, and then the CIA has full range to do what they want. That's pretty much how the process goes. So you guys understand, right? So there was no indication that the most extreme measures targeting Assange were ever approved, in part because of the objections from White House lawyers. But the agency's WikiLeaks proposals worried some administration officials that they quite quietly reached out to staffers and members of Congress on the House and Senate Intelligence Committees to alert them about what Pompeo was suggesting. So there were serious intel oversight concerns that were being raised through this escapade, said a Trump national security official. And we're going to go into that because what Pompeo did was pretty much go over the House and Intelligence Committees, did not inform them. And so that's the oversight that they're talking about. Did you want to say anything?
No.
Okay.
We'll get to the meat part.
Yeah. So some National Security Council officials, like I said, were worried that their proposals to kidnap Assange may not only be illegal, but might jeopardize the prosecution of the WikiLeaks founder. Exactly what I said before. Like, they didn't want him to get away because of something they did illegally. You know, kind of like you can't use evidence that's non-presentable to the court. Otherwise, your whole case may get thrown out, etc. So the Justice Department, then what they did was they expedited the drafting of the charges against Assange to ensure that they were in place if he were brought to the United States. So they pretty much like targeted him even more legally, tried to stick him with these charges. That way they didn't have to think about it later on. So they wanted these charges to stick. And so the CIA and the White House began sort of preparing for a number of scenarios. And this is from the article. They wanted to prepare for a number of scenarios to foil Assange's Russian departure plans. According to three former officials, those included potential gun battles with Kremlin operatives on the streets of London, crashing a car into the Russian diplomatic vehicle transporting Assange and then grabbing him, and shooting out the tires of the Russian plane carrying Assange before it could take off for Moscow. U.S. officials asked their British counterparts to do the shooting, as we mentioned, if gunfire was required, and the British agreed, according to a former senior administration official.
So you got 007, CIA, KGB. This is like a movie. You can make a movie.
It is a movie.
You can make a movie out of this. What if they tried to get Assange?
I mean, they said, this is what they said. We had all sorts of reasons to believe he was contemplating getting the hell out of there, said a former senior administration official, adding that one report said Assange might try to escape the embassy hidden in a laundry cart.
I remember
it was going to be like a prison break movie. I mean, what you just said. This is absolutely ridiculous. So here's what Pasta pointed out that is extremely important to point out, because a lot of the faux left, a lot has been coming at us, has been coming at Misty, at Steve, saying that, oh, we're so upset that Pompeo has been found. Nobody said that the Trump administration, I mean, I don't think any of them actually said the Trump administration was any better. What they tried to do was appeal to both the Trump and Biden administration to pardon Julian Assange. Yeah. That doesn't mean that they weren't under the impression that the CIA was going to do what the CIA does. New boss, same as the old boss. That doesn't change. So the notion, and this is in the article, we'll go into it, of kidnapping Assange preceded Pompeo's arrival at Langley. The Obama administration, by the way, prosecuted 8 whistleblowers, 3 times the number of previous presidential administrations combined. U.S. intelligence officials lobbied the White House under Barack Obama to redefine WikiLeaks and high-profile journalists like Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras as, quote, information brokers, pretty much taking away their rights as actual journalists and kind of classifying them as just information givers, which would actually make it harder for them to be able to talk about this freely. Then the CIA could argue that they were agents of a foreign power and then target them. Right? That's what they do. They change the definition of what these people are in order to allow the law to attack them. So that's essentially what they did.
And that's something this government's been doing for a long time. What is the definition of a terrorist, right? So that's why when they came with the whole domestic terrorist thing, it was like, whoa. Now they can just, they can take away laws and rights from Americans from themselves because they can classify them as a terrorist. And that's what they've been trying to do. They've been retrying to classify stuff all the time. So the CIA can do what they want to do when they want to do it. They're the government within the government.
Yeah, and the NSA does similar things as well.
Yeah, all these
because of the Snowden revelations, during this time, the Obama administration basically focused on collecting WikiLeaks information. This is according to Evanina, now the CEO of the Evanina Group. Previously, if the FBI needed a search warrant to go into a group's database in the United States or wanted to use a subpoena power or national security letter to gain access to WikiLeaks related financial records, that wasn't going to happen. And that changed after 2013. So that's why the Obama administration was so crucial. And it didn't just start with the Trump administration. This has been a long time planning. Now, the Obama administration was more hesitant than the Trump administration to fully say, oh, we're going to go after Julian Assange. But that was the intelligence community, that was particularly Pompeo, that took that. So what they did is they assembled a group of WikiLeaks of analysts to focus on the WikiLeaks. So they called them the WikiLeaks team. And their mission was to examine, organize, and focus on WikiLeaks. And this is according to a former agency official. And they, like I said, they lobbied the White House to redefine WikiLeaks and classify journalists as information brokers, which would have opened more investigative tools against them, paving the way for their prosecution. It was a step in the direction of showing a court that if we got that far, that they were dealing with agents of foreign power. Among the journalists, of course, were Glenn Greenwald, then a columnist for The Guardian at that point, and Laura Poitras, a documentary filmmaker who had been instrumental in publishing documents provided by Snowden. So they wanted to take those people out. And in 2016, if you guys remember, right, we had the WikiLeaks drops. We had the whole, Hillary Clinton, all the things that were dropped about her emails. We had Donald Trump was like, WikiLeaks, I love WikiLeaks. And so this is what brought the whole, WikiLeaks is in collusion with people who want to hurt the United States. This is what they then became focused on with the Russians, right? And so there became no debate on the CIA then increasing its spying on WikiLeaks, but they didn't know how they were going to collect this information, right? And so this is what a former counterintelligence official said, by the way. Is WikiLeaks a journalistic outlet? Are Laura Poitras and Glenn Greenwald truly journalists? We tried to change the definition of them. Again, guys, this is what they do. This is what they do. They have been doing this. They're doing this now to everybody now. Yeah. Okay?
It's a micro of a macro, right? I mean,
exactly.
Even I hate to say it, the leftist, synthetic left fucking tactic is to smear the person. Let's just go after that person. Not what Glenn Greenwald's putting out there or Snowden's putting out there. Don't look at the information. Remember the emails? Don't look at the information. Right. How'd you get them?
They're
the
terrorists
pesky
or
Russians.
this or that.
That's the tactic.
Right.
And that's a tactic when you can't argue the merits of the work that's in front of you. What do? You smear the person.
Right. So
you know what that's like, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're doing now. I mean, this is like, this is why I say some of these people have to be feds. Yeah. So any people affiliated with WikiLeaks were now valid targets because of the 2016 drops, right? And so they had technical collections like bugs, in-person spying, remote operations, etc., right? But at this point, what happened is that Pompeo couldn't prove that Assange actually was working for the Russian government. So what he did was he changed the definition. So he claimed that WikiLeaks was a non-state hostile intelligence service, not a journalistic outlet. So they didn't have to go through the House and Senate Intelligence Committee. So he didn't have to tell them their plans, because if somebody's a non-state hostile intelligence service, then the CIA, being part of the intelligence community, has the full allowance to go after them. So reframing them as a hostile entity allowed them to target WikiLeaks for disruption of intelligence activities, even without proof that they were working for any sort of foreign agent. And that's pretty much how they did it. So they redefined
it.
They reframed the journalist. They redefined Julian Assange as a hostile non-intelligence agency, and WikiLeaks as that as a whole. And so now they could fully go after them. So they encouraged its followers to find jobs at the CIA in order to obtain intelligence. So this is what they said. WikiLeaks walks like a hostile intelligence service and talks like a hostile intelligence service, and has encouraged its followers to find jobs at the CIA in order to obtain intelligence. It's time to call out WikiLeaks for what it really is, a non-state hostile intelligence service, often abetted by state actors like Russia. This is Mike Pompeo in one of the speeches he gave.
Did that really come out of his mouth?
That came out of his mouth,
WikiLeaks
yes.
was trying to get plants inside the CIA to see what we're doing. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Hey, journalist Joe, go over there and get a job in the fucking CIA. Like, they're gonna hire them, please.
Yeah, Pompeo said this in 2017 at the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
Oh.
He gave this gigantic speech.
He said it out loud?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking Pompeo.
That's so fucking asshole.
So,
sorry. Oh.
So again, like I said, the CIA's anger, right? The fury led Pompeo to describe them as a non-state hostile intelligence service, and this opened the door for operatives to take a more aggressive actions, treating the organization like they would treat a spy service, like a spy agency. And so within months, the U.S. spies were monitoring the communications and movements of numerous WikiLeaks personnel, including audio and visual surveillance of Julian Assange himself. This is according to senior officials. And Johnny has the did you want to play that? Yeah. So So he did say this live. Just so you guys know. So, and again,
I was being facetious when I said, did he really say that out loud? Because that's like something you want to keep in your own fucking thoughts. You really don't want to fucking say that out loud. I mean, I would think that people would not take you seriously at all, but I guess, I don't know, you can say anything nowadays and people will take you serious.
Well, that's what they do. Like, that's what they say. What they do is they accuse you of being a spy. They accuse you of being an operative. How many times have I been accused of being a Russian asset, or like for real, an operative, a Fed? Like, they go into where my dad worked and they say, oh, you must be taking money from this person or that person. And they just accuse you blatantly, right? Look at what Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur did. Right? They accused Mate of taking money from Assad and all, like, look what they did to fucking Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, this is what they do. This is nothing new. This just proves to you in real life, like via other people that aren't the people that are being accused, that this is what they fucking do. Nothing's changed. This is what they've done time and time again. So, So Pompeo was apparently afraid of Trump and didn't even want to brief him on Vault 7. And this is according to a former Trump senior official, right? Don't tell him. He doesn't need to know. This is what Pompeo told one briefer before being advised that the information was too critical and that the president had to be informed. And people in the FBI and the NSA repeatedly demanded interagency meetings to determine the scope of the damage caused by Vault 7. And the NSA believed that although the leak revealed only CIA hacking operations, it could also give countries like Russia or China clues about the NSA targets and methods. So
that's
were freaking
always
out,
another tactic,
right?
by the way. They always say that this person's hacks or this person's releasing of information is putting our soldiers or our community in harm. And that's why we have to go after them. People still to this day think that what Assange did, and even in that movie we watched, that brief movie, The Fifth is Thought, it was all about what you're doing is you're putting people in harm's way. That's what they always say.
Right. So, they always turn it around.
Yeah.
So, so the issue for Pompeo and the CIA was how to go after WikiLeaks without like getting some blowback, right? And so they found the answer in a legal sleight of hand. Like I said before, usually for U.S. intelligence to secretly interfere with the activities of any foreign actor, the president must sign a document called a finding that authorizes such a covert action, which must also be briefed to the House and the Senate Intelligence Committees. In very sensitive cases, notification is limited to Congress's so-called Gang of 8, the 4 leaders of the House and Senate, plus the chairperson and ranking member of the 2 committees. But there is an important carve-out. Many of the same actions, if taken against another spy service, are considered offensive counterintelligence. So the CIA is then allowed to conduct this without getting a presidential finding or having to brief Congress at all. And this is according to several former intelligence officials. So some people were trying to inform them, but they found a way through. Again, this is how they do things. And they do this internally based on the interpretation of so-called common law passed down in secret within the agency's legal corporations. And a former official said, I don't think people realize how much the CIA can do under offensive counterintelligence,
wow.
How there is minimal oversight of it. This is a former official saying this. There's no doubt in your mind then that this is what's happening, right?
Yeah. I just, that's something too, and I don't want to get too far off track as we keep going through this here. But, a lot of people said that Kennedy didn't know that the CIA was planning the Bay of Pigs. That there's a lot of times when the CIA and the FBI just go rogue and never report stuff to a lot of people even said that the bombing in Syria was done, and then they told Trump after. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but you hear these things all the time. And then when you see proof from an official who's now gone, who says, no, listen, they can do their own things under the guise and without going to the president, without going to the speaker, without going to Congress. Therefore, what powers do they really have? Unlimited powers, because they do whatever they want without any checks and balances.
Even right there, that former official said that Pompeo said, "Don't tell Trump.
Don't tell Trump.
Don't tell him.
Don't tell him."
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
Don't tell the president of the United States. I mean, I don't think people realize, like, this is why I say new boss, same as the old boss, because these presidents are just puppets. The real people in power, the real people who make the largest moves regarding imperialism are the people that you don't see. The shadow government, so to speak. It's the intelligence community, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, these communities, the national security state apparatus. They're the ones really calling the shots. If Pompeo, the director of the CIA, can say, don't tell Trump, don't tell the president, what else what else aren't they talking about? Like, what else what do you think they're telling you?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I start thinking, what motives do the CIA have at time? Are they picking up clues from oligarchs telling them what to do and whatnot? They always speaking to certain people. What are they doing at the end of the day? What are they doing to keep the military-industrial complex going, to keep all big pharma going, all these big corporations that pretty much control our government? Are they talking with the CIA? It makes me wonder sometimes, like, who are they working for, the CIA? Because they can't just be working for themselves, can they?
Right. No. Obviously. Yeah. So the bottom line is, though some people disagreed, for many senior officials, Pompeo's designation of WikiLeaks was a positive step. A former official said, "We all agreed that WikiLeaks was a hostile intelligence organization and should be dealt with accordingly." So they were in agreement that. They said that WikiLeaks was a complete obsession of Pompeo's. So soon after the speech, Pompeo asked a small group of senior CIA officers to figure out the art of the possible when it came to WikiLeaks. Nothing's off limits. Don't censor yourself. I need operational ideas from you. I'll worry about the lawyers in Washington. This is what he said. CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, sent messages directing CIA stations and bases worldwide to prioritize the collection on WikiLeaks, according to another official. And so at the CIA, the new designation of them as, as a non-state hostile intelligence service would go from a target of collection to a target of disruption. So now they're saying, so we're not just collecting, now they're disrupting our affairs. So now we're going to treat them as such. And so proposals began percolating upward within the CIA and the NSC to undertake various disruptive activities. The core of offensive counterintelligence against WikiLeaks. This included paralyzing its digital infrastructure, disrupting its communications, provoking internal disputes within the organization by planting damaging information, and stealing WikiLeaks members' electronic devices, according to 3 former officials. Now, if you go back what you know at WikiLeaks, about WikiLeaks, right? It's one of the most secure ways that people began dropping information. Now, a lot of people are taking that and doing it. A lot of the top news agencies. That's what you want. You want to be able to have people safely drop information. So imagine them disrupting all of this and creating internal disputes and planting information. So when some of us say things like, "Oh, we're being heard, we're being spied on, we're being attacked," guys, that's not conspiracy. That is exactly what they do, and they were able to do it with something as so intelligently and just technologically and just so perfectly formulated like WikiLeaks. I mean, WikiLeaks had a 0% retraction rate, and they had a lot of people doing, working, and it was just so well and organized, such a well-crafted machine, and they were able to do this to them. So I'm just saying, think of what they can do to us.
Well, that's why the importance of Julian Assange needs to be talked about. He needs to be let go. That's how we know that Donald Trump was never serious, because he never pardoned him and stuff. He also, within the system, and it was his idea, was to devise a platform where the whistleblower remained anonymous as well. So you can just drop leaks over there and you don't know who he was. Eventually, some leaks he got close to and talked to. We know Chelsea Manning was there, but that was the whole idea. So therefore, you protect the person bringing the information forth. And that's really important right now, because you'll hear this all the time. Oh, the CIA can't tell the public what they're doing all the time. The FBI can't tell the public what they're doing all the time. No, we have the right to know what they're doing in the name of our government. And that's the problem. They've done so many things in the name of our government that they've just cast such a bad name on us worldwide, the way that other countries look at us sometimes. It's because they look at us in a nefarious way because of what the CIA does, and the CIA never talks or has to be accountable for their actions. And they keep doing whatever they want to do. And these are unelected officials, by the way, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That have been in power for God knows how long.
Unelected. That's
unelected. They were appointed by presidents, and it's a collaboration of them, and they're appointing their friends, and they're hiring their buddies, and you know what I'm saying? It's one whole clusterfuck over here, a big club.
So there was this guy named Andy Mueller Magoon. He was a former spokesperson for Chaos Computer Club in Germany. He was a friend of Julian Assange, and he's the guy that they targeted for disruption by the CIA. A former official said some dude affiliated with WikiLeaks was moving around the world, and they wanted to go steal his computer because they thought he might have Vault 7 files. The official was unable to identify that individual, but some of these proposals may have been eventually approved. In December 2020, a German hacker closely affiliated with WikiLeaks, who assisted with the Vault 7 publications, claimed that there had been an attempt to break into his apartment, which he had secured within an elaborate locking system. The hacker, Andy Mueller Magoon, also said he had been tailed by mysterious figures and that his encrypted telephone had been bugged. Again, I'm pointing this out because when people say things like, "Oh, I'm being followed by somebody," take it seriously next time. Like this should happen. They do this shit. Yeah. Like this is what they do.
I got a friend of mine who thinks she's being followed right now too as well. And there's a possibility because anybody who challenges power, anybody from the grassroots, anybody who speaks up, they're going to be watching you at all times. Remember, they have an infinite amount of resources. They work for the people who create the dollar. So, you know what I'm saying? Take it serious is what we said. We showed the stuff for Rose McGowan the other day. Mm-hmm. It's scary. That shit happens.
So there's a little bit more on the intricacies of the kidnapping on Assange. Pompeo began discussing kidnapping Assange, according to 4 former officials. So, like we said, this preceded Pompeo's arrival at Langley. The new director championed these proposals at that point, according to officials. Pompeo and others proposed abducting Assange from the embassy and bringing him back to the United States via a third country. This is known as rendition. That would be what the process is called. So the idea was to break into the embassy, drag Julian Assange out, and bring him to where they wanted him. And a less extreme version of that proposal involved U.S. operatives snatching Assange from the embassy and turning him over to the British authorities. Such actions were sure to create a diplomatic and political firestorm, as they would have involved violating the sanctity of the Ecuadorian embassy before kidnapping the citizen of a critical U.S. partner, Australia, in the capital of the United Kingdom, the United States' closest ally. Eventually, they ended up doing pretty much that. Trying to seize Assange from the embassy in the British capital struck some as ridiculous, said the former intelligence official. This isn't Pakistan or Egypt. We're talking about London. I mean, look at how they talk. Like, this isn't Pakistan or Egypt. So they discussed with the British turning the other cheek and pretty much looking the other way and ignoring what was going on. But the British said, no way, you're not doing that on our territory. That ain't happening. The British embassy in Washington did not return a request for comment to these journalists. In addition to diplomatic concerns about rendition, some NSC officials believed that abducting Assange would be clearly illegal. Duh. You can't throw people in a car and kidnap them, said a former national security official. In fact, this former official for some NSC personnel, this was the key question. Was it possible to render Assange under the CIA's offensive counterintelligence authorities? In this former official's thinking, those powers were meant to enable traditional spy versus spy activities, not the same kind of crap we pulled in the war on terror. So they were discussing like the legalities of all of this. Mm-hmm. And so one of those officials also said that he was briefed on a spring 2017 meeting on in where Donald Trump asked how the CIA could assassinate Assange and provided him options to do so. So it was viewed as unhinged and ridiculous, recalled the senior official. It's unclear how serious the proposals to kill Assange really were. I was told they were just spitballing, said a former senior counterintelligence official briefed on the discussions about kinetic options regarding the WikiLeaks founder. It was just Trump being Trump. Nonetheless, at roughly the same time, agency executives requested and received sketches of plans to killing Assange and other Europe-based WikiLeaks members who had access to Vault 7 materials, said a former U.S. intelligence official. There were discussions on whether killing Assange was possible and whether it was legal. So they could not confirm if these proposals made it to the White House. So just so you guys know. So like I said, they were worried about Pompeo advocating things that were not legal, and they were expressing their concerns about that. So they said that when Pompeo took over, he cut the lawyers out of a lot of things. So he pretty much wanted to do what he wanted to do. He had access to the Oval Office where he would meet with Trump alone. And this made the lawyers more fearful, and they feared that the CIA director, Pompeo at the time, was leaving those meetings with authorities or approval signed by the president that they knew nothing about. So again, they were like afraid that Pompeo was going to do something crazy that would jeopardize their whole mission. So, yeah. They were also worried about the timing of the Assange's potential kidnapping. And so they had these discussions before the Justice Department before any criminal charges were filed against him, meaning that the CIA could have kidnapped Assange from the embassy without any legal basis to try him in the United States, which is insane. And Eisenberg urged Justice Department officials to accelerate their drafting of charges against Assange in case of the CIA's rendition plans moved forward. So again, like I said before, they were trying to stick him with charges. That way he wouldn't be able to get out. The White House told Attorney General at the time, Jeff Sessions, that if prosecutors had grounds to indict Assange, they should hurry up and do so. Things got more complicated in May of 2017 when the Swedes dropped their rape investigation into Julian Assange, who had always denied the allegations. And then, of course, the White House officials developed a backup plan. The British would hold Assange on a bail jumping charge. That was what he was held on. And then the Justice Department had a 48-hour delay to rush through an indictment. That's why they were able to do what they did.
It's so crazy. Hey, you better charge him or we're gonna whack him.
Right.
You gotta make a choice here. You got 48 hours. You either charge him or we're whacking him.
What's easier to do? What's the safest way to do it? Like, do we
I
whack
don't know if we shouldn't whack him. We might get him. Wait a second. Wait, we're working on a 3rd Avenue. Hey, listen, you don't get one of those 2 avenues. If you don't get him out of the embassy, you don't try him on charges, we're going to whack him. So hurry up and do something.
So they were still worried about the Russians. I mean, they were worried about if the Russians managed to get Assange into a plane because, because they said this because Assange was instrumental in getting Snowden to escape to Russia. So it was in their head that Assange was going to do the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So if they managed to get Julian into a plane, the U.S. and British operatives would then prevent it from taking off by putting a helicopter over it or shooting out its tires. And this is, of course, according to a former senior Trump administration official. I mean, this is just like a blockbuster movie. In the unlikely event that the Russians succeeded in getting airborne, officials plan to ask European countries to deny the plane overflight rights. Eventually, the United States and the UK developed a joint plan to prevent Assange from absconding and giving Vladimir Putin the sort of propaganda coup he had enjoyed when Snowden fled to Russia in 2013. That's what this was about. That's what this is about. That's what they were freaking out about.
Big difference because Julian Assange, WikiLeaks' network had already exposed Putin for several things with the Panama Papers, with actual spying in Moscow and stuff like that. So there was always this talk that Putin was just going to go to Russia. Assange had a free range in Russia when there was always that into question. Like, well, wait, he's exposed Putin before. You know what I'm saying? That might not be the same. He doesn't have the same luxury that Snowden did. So that's all hearsay. So,
and just so wrapping it up, UC Global, right? There was this company called UC Global, and Max Blumenthal and the Gray Zone have talked about this before. They did an article, I think, 2 years ago on this. So there was a company called UC Global that was supposed to protect the country's London embassy, where Assange had already spent several years running WikiLeaks from his living room quarters. Unbeknownst to Ecuador, by mid-2017, UC Global was working for U.S. intelligence. And so this is according to 2 former employees who also testified in a Spanish criminal investigation. And this was first reported by the newspaper El País. The Spanish firm UC Global was providing U.S. intelligence agencies with detailed reports of Assange's activities and visitors, as well as video and audio surveillance of Assange from secretly installed devices in the embassy. This is what the employee testified. A former U.S. national security official confirmed that U.S. intelligence had access to video and audio feeds of Assange within the embassy, but declined to specify how they were acquired. So Assange was pretty much UC Global was supposed to protect him, was supposed to not be involved. They were involved with intelligence. And that's kind of how this whole thing went about. Because eventually those within the administration were arguing for an approach based in the courts rather than on espionage and covert actions, because they saw that that was illegal. So on April 11th in 2019, after Ecuador's new government revoked his asylum and evicted him, which, by the way, Ecuador's new government came in because of the United States involvement in it as well. Yeah. British police carried the WikiLeaks founder out of the embassy, as we remember, right, and arrested him for failing to surrender to the courts over a warrant issued in 2012. And the U.S. government then unsealed its initial indictment on Assange that same day. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. Now that's the rest is history, right? Because that's how they were able to get him. Yeah. Of course, not before attempting to assassinate him. And just so everybody knows, Assange is now housed in a London prison as the courts there decide on a U.S. request to extradite him on charges of attempting to help former U.S. Army analyst Chelsea Manning break into a classified computer network and conspiring to obtain a published classified documents in violation of the Espionage Act. And so the final appeal court date is October 27th, and that's going to be obviously in London. So I know that there are events planned there, but I just wanted to give this overview. And anything to say? I just wanted to go into the final thing.
I was just going to ask Johnny too, though. Is that a video game that's already like an active video game, or is that something that somebody made?
I've just found it randomly, dude. It looks just like Assange. It's hilarious.
It really
exactly
does
like
look
hilarious. I just added the little CIA.
Oh my
white
God.
hair, you know.
It looks exactly like Assange, right?
It
Like
does.
it was weird. I was
Yeah,
like, what
but
the fuck?
you've seen that in video games. They do that shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, this whole everything we talked about that the CIA talked about is like literally missions and shit in the campaign of like these video games, Call of Duty and shit.
It's manufacturing consent, making it okay. You know, it's just like America nowadays. All this blood that's going on, all these wars that's going on, and nobody pays attention to it. It's just bliss. You know, they don't pay. It's just nothing. It's a normal day. And that's why it's kind of sad that some of the eyes aren't on Julian Assange right now. You know, I think about Chelsea Manning, what her situation would be if, in fact, Julian Assange comes back to the States. Will she say that, yeah, he kind of pushed me to go into this computer?
Right.
What will she say now? You know, it's very, very scary. And I don't know if there's any way out for Julian. We were praying, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
Because of the theatrics pulled by Donald Trump, that he would say, all right, you know, I'm going to pardon Julian Assange just to rub it in their face for the people who fucking got him thrown out.
That was the angle that some activists were taking.
We were hoping. But
yeah, I mean, again, like they're going to do the intelligence committee, what they do. I mean, he's part of the whole thing.
He is.
So the last part of this whole section that I wanted to read was a lot of people may not have known, but Julian Assange wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post. And I wanted to read it if you can pull it up because, there we go. So wait, this isn't it. Yeah, it is. Okay. So Mike Pompeo, in his first speech as director of the CIA, chose to declare war on free speech rather than on the United States' actual adversaries. He went after WikiLeaks, where I serve as editor, as a non-state hostile intelligence service. In Pompeo's worldview, telling the truth about the administration can be a crime. So this is okay. So
Assange, for context, Assange wrote this on April 25th, 2017,
responding to Pompeo's
speech here,
Correct.
April 13th, 2017.
Yep.
Interesting.
So in Pompeo's worldview, telling the truth about the administration can be a crime, as Attorney General Jeff Sessions quickly underscored when he described my arrest as a priority. News organizations reported that federal prosecutors are weighing whether to bring charges against members of WikiLeaks, possibly including conspiracy, theft of government property, and violating the Espionage Act. All this speech to stifle speech comes in reaction to the first publication in the start of the WikiLeaks Vault 7 series. Vault 7 has begun publishing evidence of remarkable CIA incompetence and other shortcomings. This includes the agency's creation at a cost of billions of taxpayer dollars of an entire arsenal of cyber viruses and hacking programs over which it promptly lost control and then tried to cover up the loss. These publications also revealed the CIA's efforts to infect the public's ubiquitous consumer products and automobiles with computer viruses. When the director of the CIA, an unelected public servant, publicly demonizes a publisher such as WikiLeaks as a fraud, coward, and enemy, it puts all journalists on notice, or should. Pompeo's next talking point, unsupported by fact that WikiLeaks is a non-state hostile intelligence service, is a dagger aimed at the Americans' constitutional right to receive honest information about their government. This accusation mirrors attempts throughout history by bureaucrats seeking and failing to criminalize speech that reveals their own failings. President Theodore Roosevelt understood the danger of giving to those foolish or traitorous persons who endeavor to make it a crime to tell the truth about the administration when the administration is guilty of incompetence or other shortcomings. Such an endeavor is itself a crime against the nation, Roosevelt wrote. President Trump and his officials should heed that advice. Words matter. And I assume that Pompeo meant this when he said Julian Assange has no First Amendment freedoms. He's sitting in an embassy in London. He's not a U.S. citizen. As a legal matter, this statement is simply false. It underscores just how dangerous it is for an unelected official whose agency's work is rooted in lying and misdirection to be the sole arbiter of truth and the interpreter of the Constitution. Pompeo demonstrated a remarkable lack of irony when he suggested that WikiLeaks, quote, focus instead on the autocratic regimes in this world that actually suppress free speech and dissent, end quote, even as he called for a crackdown of such speech. In fact, Pompeo finds himself in the unsavory company of Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, and he quotes the number of documents, Bashar al-Assad, and the dictatorship in Saudi Arabia, to name just a few who have tried and failed to censor WikiLeaks. Pompeo was once a WikiLeaks fan. On July 24th, then partisan politician Pompeo gloatingly tweeted, "Need further proof that the fix was in from President Obama on down? Busted. 19,252 emails from the DNC leaked by WikiLeaks." Pompeo liked WikiLeaks when he perceived it was publishing material revealing the shortcomings of his potential rivals. It was only when our publication touched Pompeo's rice bowl that WikiLeaks became his target. Pompeo subsequently deleted the tweet, but he is learning that in the digital age, the truth is hard to hide. You don't get to love the truth one day and seek its suppression and the incarceration of its publisher the next. As a candidate, Trump tweeted, "Very little pickup by dishonest media of incredible information provided by WikiLeaks." The president mentioned WikiLeaks 164 times during the last months of the election and gushed,
"Can I say that word? I love WikiLeaks."
All democratic governments are managed by imperfect human beings, and autocracies are much worse. The benign dictator is a myth. These human beings, democratic and autocratic alike, make mistakes and commit crimes, and often serve themselves rather than their countries. They are the focus of WikiLeaks publications. The Pompeo doctrine, articulated in his speech, ensnares all serious news and investigative human rights organizations. From ProPublica to Amnesty International to Human Rights Watch, the logic that WikiLeaks or these organizations are somehow, quote, intelligence agencies would be as absurd as the suggestion that the CIA is a media outlet. Both journalists and intelligence agencies cultivate and protect sources, collect information, and write reports. But the similarities end there. The world cannot afford, and the Constitution does not permit, a muzzle placed on the work that transparency organizations do to inform the American and global public. Fundamental issues of free speech and freedom of the press and of the interplay between liberty and security date to the Republic's founding. Those who believe in persecution and suppression of the truth to achieve their parochial ends are inevitably forgotten by history. In a fair fight, as John Milton observed, the truth always wins. So I wanted to read that whole thing because I thought it was important, and it plays so well into what's happening right now, as we're going to be talking about only on Rokfin, because we're being censored right now by YouTube, and they have amped their censorship. You know, these people are entirely bad. These technocratic, monopolies are entirely in bed with the government agencies, and it's getting more difficult to get the truth out there. Not only are we smeared, are we censored, but they're now targeting people. They're targeting our money. They're trying to stop us from doing the work we do. And it is because of people like Julian Assange that we need to be constantly doing this, because in this speech, he literally outlines how this is affecting every journalist, every type of organization, and his words still ring true. The truth will always win no matter what. And even if right now, we're being smeared as these conspiracy theorists for questioning the state narratives, just know that eventually we will be vindicated, because the truth always comes out, just like it did after 9/11. It will also come out now.
Yeah, but it's a shame that a lot of synthetic leftists and certain people on the fucking establishment right don't care about the truth. All they care about is team sports, so therefore they'll even twist the truth. You know what I'm saying? They listen, how many people complained about the fact that they said that Julian Assange helped Donald Trump? And I would always say this, listen, I don't give a shit. What all Julian Assange did was provide a mechanism of providing the public the truth. That's it. It's not about Julian Assange as much as about the truth. Julian Assange is the mechanism to bring us the truth. That's why he revolutionized when it comes to reporting and journalism, because all he did was in saying, we sit here and we go, oh, this is our opinion about this person. This is why they're doing that, whatnot. A lot of journalists do that, writing that out. He said, look what this person said about that person. Look at this email between Pfizer and Hillary Clinton. Look at this right here, and you make your own decision. It was a mechanism for the truth, and if the truth blows it up, so be it. So that's why I don't care about anything but the truth. And the truth needs to be told, whether it helped Donald Trump or not. It didn't make a difference. Right. We had the right to see what the Democratic Party was doing in their primaries to other grassroots candidates, namely Bernie Sanders, whatnot. And nobody should complain about that. Nobody should be pointing the finger at Julian Assange for pulling it up. They say stupid things like, well, what about the stuff on Trump? Do you have that over there and stuff? This is not a game. This is, you know what I'm saying? It's not team sports.
The Trump administration was attempting to assassinate him. So now that whole thing goes out the window, by the way. Okay, so we can go on to the next section. And thanks so much for hanging on with us, guys.
It's important. This is
important.
We are all Assange.
We are all Assange.
We are all
Literally,
Assange.
more than ever.
We're advocates for the truth.
The truth, regardless of your fucking ideology. This shows you that it doesn't matter. Yeah. Your ideology doesn't matter. These people are going to do what they're going to do regardless.
Yes. Keep up the great work. Love you. From Carrie Mark. Also, Lucky Burrito. Thank you for coming to the Steve Cutler live stream the other day. Guys, get on over to the Steve Cutler live stream.
That was fun.
There's music. There's love. There's happiness. Really, in a world so full of shit right now, it's great to see Steve Cutler strum the guitar, and you know that Leo's right behind. We love you, Leo. It means so much to us. We will be having one later, so come with your song, musician, request fee. Leo and I have matching hats in the same color as your sweater. Love you all. Keep up the amazing work, fam. Namaste stream. Here's the link, guys. If you want to hear some music, go on over. Check it out. It's awesome. AREM. Look at you, AREM. We love you. My champions are on or with the couch. Thank you so much. That means a lot to us. 91 people. Guys, we're going to swing over to Rokfin and Rokfin only now.
No. Wait. This one's Rokfin only?
Or are we doing this one?
This is the governor. It's up to you. You want to do Rokfin?
I think we should probably go Rokfin only just for today. Just because it is about this whole situation, fam. And they said they'll be taking down. There was a thing from YouTube that they'll be taking down certain stuff today when it comes to talking about you know what. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Rokfin. Right now we have 94 watchers over there. There's about 300 of you on YouTube. Guys, we're going to put the link up. Just click on the link. You don't have to sign up. But I do want to say thank you so much for all those awesome people who've been subscribing to us. Our subscribers have been growing on Rokfin, and that's awesome. But we want you to continue to share the links. Share them from Rokfin. Get it out there. Get people over to that site because we want to be able to speak freely about this stuff because it's also very serious. And from what we witnessed today, I think, with all these different attacks, not just YouTube doing that stuff that Johnny just put it up there. You saw it really quick.
Yeah, we'll talk about the intercept bullshit.
The intercept stuff. There's so much stuff going on. It seems like a holy cow. Yeah. This is the Custard's last stand, and they're digging in deep, and they're going to make one last attempt. So get on over to Rokfin where we can talk the truth. By the way, we have some awesome interviews lined up. Dr. McCullough will be coming on our show on the 8th, and that's going to be a fantastic interview. Mm-hmm. We're still waiting to hear. Cynthia McKinney's going to come back on and do a show with FAM. They're going to talk about her time in Israel. So we have some great guests lined up, and we're reaching out to more great guests to talk about these issues. So,
and by the way, guys, it sucks. I know some of you have glitches with Rokfin, but we're also on Odyssey.
Yes.
And it's important because now more than ever, they're going to crack down on everybody now. It's not just about, what they decide is disinformation or misinformation. It's now anything that they deem is just related to the jab or whatever, right? Like it's getting really difficult, and it didn't start with that, right? Remember, it started with Alex Jones, and then it went to the elections, and then it went into and on and on and on. So this is why we've always been against censorship. This is why I'm a free speech absolutist. I believe everybody has the right to speech, even if I hate their speech, and so. That's why it's so prevalent. It's so prescient right now to really go from Julian Assange and discussing like all this whole thing, trying to stop WikiLeaks, to stop anybody affiliated with him, any journalists reporting on that, and him, and get rid of him, because this is what they're doing now through their different methods. They're trying to get rid of us. They're trying to stop the truth from getting to you, the viewer, right? Because these people will say, oh, well, they're getting kicked out because they're spreading misinformation. No, we're getting kicked out because we're telling the truth. Yeah. And that's the reality.
And it wasn't the good old American ways. Like, you might not like what that other person has to say, but in America, they have the freedom to say it. Wasn't it all about us getting in like adults and having conversations and stuff, showing receipts, showing what we know, showing what we believe? Really, to tell you the truth, the whole programming of the television that you watch has really taken over a lot of minds, and a lot of people just repeat shit that they hear or say over there. I got a call from somebody today starting to tell me, I'm like, where did you hear this from? Oh, I Googled it. And I'm like, dude, I was in Arizona. We were in Arizona. We actually talked to people. We understand how this whole system works. And it's just ridiculous nowadays. You got to look deep. And you can't just take what they tell you. I think people are so distracted and consumed with the entertainment and what some of these entertainers are telling them. It's just crazy. Nuts.
Alrighty.
Rob McMurtry, by the way, says, and thank you so much, Rob, for the Super 8 contribution. He says, I got my shirts a couple days ago, fit great, and already got a few looks and thumbs up. Love them. Which ones did you get? Did you get a Johnny one? Johnny Graphics? Tell us which one you got, Rob. That would be awesome. I want to know.
Hey, real quick, maybe we should just play this part on YouTube and then just get it over to Rock.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to play this part, and you'll see what we're talking about. And we're getting over it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I prayed a lot to God during this time. And you know what? God did answer our prayers. He made the smartest men and women, the scientists, the doctors, the researchers. He made them come up with a vaccine. That is from God to us. And we must say, thank you, God. Thank you. And I wear my vaccinated necklace all the time to say, I'm vaccinated. All of you. Yes, I know you're vaccinated. You're the smart ones. But there's people out there who aren't listening to God and what God wants. You know this. You know who they are. I need you to be my apostles. I need you to go out and talk about it and say, we owe this to each other. We love each other. Jesus taught us to love one another. And how do you show that love? But to care about each other enough to say, please get vaccinated because I love you. I want you to live. I want our kids to be safe when they're in schools. I want you to be safe when you go to a doctor's office or to a hospital and are treated by somebody. You don't want to get the virus from them. You're already sick or you wouldn't be there. We have to solve this, my friends. I need every one of you. I need you to let them know that this is how we can fight this pandemic, come back to normal, and then start talking about the real issues that we have to. Fighting systemic racial injustice, which exists today. And if there's a denier, I will take you on any day because I've seen it. I know it exists. And we are not going to have a blind eye to this ever again any longer under my...
By the way, Rob McMurtry said he got to defund the Pentagon and he abolished the anti-imperialist one, Johnny Graphics. He got it.
I don't even know if I can say anything right now, but I will say she talks about racial injustice. Who are the number one people affected by these mandates that she's pushing? Who are the number one people getting fired?
Fam,
all right, over to Rokfin.
The New York fucking governor, the new New York governor. All right, everyone get a Rokfin.
Go to Rokfin. I don't be my disciple. Go to Rokfin. Be my apostle. Come to the Rokfin dinner.
This is a Democrat, right? Is this?
Yeah, this is a Democrat.
Is this Pence? Pence's fucking sister? Who is it?
All right, YouTube, get on over to Rokfin.
Chili Love, Brian Brown, get on over. Flyboy, we love you. Jasper Jaguar.
All right, peace out, YouTube. Get on over.
Guys.
Links in the chat.